Galactic Federation of Light Update, June 7, 2016. 9 Akbal, 16 Pax, 12 Manik. Selamat Jalwa. What you have long awaited is beginning to take shape. Orders have been given to release a major part of the humanitarian and prosperity funds. New schedules to rid this reality of the Cabal and its myriad henchmen are now in place. The Dark realizes that its time is up and that several layers of key arrests are either starting or else in place. Revised agreements are being implemented as a new fund transfer system comes into play. The election in America is expected to be delayed when a new Nasara government can be formally declared. When these developments are manifested, a number of announcements are to be publicly declared. These items are now beginning to pop up all over the internet, as one by one, key informers become aware of what is now occurring. These reports are being distributed in order to notify some of you of what is either brewing or just on the horizon. The time is soon to end the long period of global influence of the Cabal. This process took longer than we initially anticipated, but what we expected is currently beginning to unfold. The funding followed a very strict path specially managed by our various Earth allies. The coming thing is thus to see publicly arranged arrests of major Cabal figures. This sudden rash of arrests results from the Cabal extending this process as long as possible. The Dark Ones were very frightened of our detention facilities. We have simply taken a number of their own detention facilities and modified them to fit our specifications. These arrest centers are to hold them until our mentors arrive. At that time, they are to be moved to a place more in keeping with what is desired to prepare them for their alteration into fully conscious beings of light. This time in limited consciousness is actually a game originally supervised by the Anunnaki. Our aim is to alter this reality with the advice of heaven, and, at the right divine time, to move all of you into full consciousness. Then your present game is to have run its course and be replaced by a new fully conscious reality. A new set of consciousness goals is to become the norm. These changes in your psyche are vital to the whole outcome. As you grow upward in consciousness, you again become aware of how these layers that are your reality were constructed. Heaven rearranged how a more consciousness-filled one was to be lowered when the Atlanteans and their ilk left the surface of your orb. The resulting construct was unusable for the purposes of the Anunnaki. It was left by heaven to be the eventual foundation for what you are now going through. We are unlike the Anunnaki, and do have the keys necessary to vastly alter this reality during your 3 days in the crystal light chamber. What we are seeing is that, as each new layer of consciousness is added to you, it is causing an equal adjustment to the density layer of this reality. As this reality lightens, heaven is slowly altering how this all relates to the reunion of Gaia's surface and inner realities. When we arrive and the mentors are introduced to you, only then are we to start our special realigning of this reality. As you can see, the best is yet to come. This project has taken a long time to get started. Bear in mind that we have only been on this mission since the 1990s. Your solar crisis started in the early 1970s. Thus, heaven waited for nearly 20 years before dispatching our huge fleet at the start of the 1990s. This gap was due to the 2 decades of early changes imposed by heaven over the complaints of your Anunnaki overlords. When we arrived, a kind of fait accompli existed. Heaven made it quite clear that we were here on the special mission, hence the balance was not to be heavily interfered with. This first decade was to be noted by the peace with Anshara that began in the mid-1990s. Our initial tasks were to become allies with the various forces of light that dotted the surface world of Gaia. In addition, several times in the subsequent decades, we had to alter when, and how, our mission was actually to unfold. Nonetheless, this mission is now fully engaged, and is helping the various aims of the forces of light on this world. The time has come for a grand global revolution of consciousness. Namaste. We are your ascended masters. Our various secret sacred societies are now concluding the preliminaries that are to lead to a number of key arrests and the removal of the present de facto American governance first formed illegally in 1871. The ending of its tyranny is the precursor for the rise of the Nasara-designed republic. This new governance, my friends, is the force that is legally making possible the restoration of our true constitution and a much-needed return to common law. Before the Civil War, America was guided by its history and the wise admonitions of Washington, Jefferson and Madison. The secession of the Southern states, and the anguish and struggle that was the Civil War, subtly altered this. The nation was left open to a bogus movement led by a group of scalawags and imitation patriots that imposed an unjust system of reclamation, which eventually led to the Reorganization Act for D.C. of 1871. This infamy was the start of a series of events that ended true constitutional rule in the United States. We masters were appalled by what the dark cabal had accomplished. These were dark days when the aims that we had set in 1776 were beginning to be totally ignored. It was to take another 90 years before someone in the presidency used their influence to restore the first semblance of constitutional rule. His assassination made it clear that the time had not yet arrived for a means to eliminate the dark and their web of corruption in American governance. Eventually, Nasara was made law and now is the moment for it to be enforced. We thank you, as before, for your wondrous energies that are greatly aiding this noble cause. Since the 1990s, our prosperity funds have been tied into the formal declaration of this new Nasara Republic. Our intention is to ensure that these funds lead to a great cleansing of the new American Republic, and to the same, traveling across this globe. Hallelujah! 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 A new rising consciousness is taking place within you. It is the moment to begin the cleansing of the lies and falsehoods that the dark have long used to manipulate you. This process is to reach another level when the fleet finally lands and you learn about the history of Agartha. These revelations are to change how you perceive your origins when you learn in detail how Gaia was born, and why each of us gradually came as colonists to be the chosen land guardians of this most sacred orb. Our long relationship to Gaia's whales and dolphins is to be told to you first by us, and then by your mentors. Much is to be quickened once these new governances are in place. Many of you still have no idea how these few events are to greatly shift your concepts of this reality. We look forward to freely being with you, and together creating a beautiful and pristine new realm. Today, we continued our report about the situations being resolved by the light. We fully expect you to shortly see events that are to create the changes we have long discussed with you. We ask you therefore to hold this new light and welcome your coming new governance and a never-ending prosperity. Know, dear ones, that the countless supply and never-ending prosperity of heaven are indeed yours. So be it. Selamat Gajan. Selamat Ya, Syrian for B1. And be in joy. Channeled by Sheldon Neidl. www.paoweb.com